welcome back to Provisionally Approved, the show where tonight we will be doing Star Wars spoilers. So if you haven't seen the movie, I suggest you, go away, see the movie, then come back. Welcome back. Hi, I'm Mike Gorrie, and hashtag GorrieFact. It works in anyone's language. Sitting here tonight with me is...
I'm Zim. I'm a big Star Wars fan. I've seen the film 4 times already, so...
I'm Jeremy. I've only seen it twice. Sorry I'm not on your level, man, but...
That's alright, that's okay.
And being like the exponential flop of the group, I've seen it once last night, so...
It's pretty appalling really at this
It's
point.
been out a month!
I'm slow on the uptake.
That's fair enough. That's fair enough.
And you had, I remember you saying you did also have most of the movie spoiled for you beforehand.
Yeah.
And so you sort of knew what you were going
Did
into.
you enjoy it?
Okay.
With the spoilers?
The spoilers don't really affect the emotional thing of the scene.
That's fair
Fair enough, yeah.
The thing. Han Solo gets stabbed by his son, Kylo Ren.
We're really out of the gate with this one. All right, let's get into it.
It was spoiled to me with a title that said, I think it was, why Han Solo being killed by his son is such a big deal. I'm like, fuck you.
But let's there. Sorry, love my stammer right now. It's great. Let's talk about the spoilers thing for a bit though, because I think there's something to be said for a lot of people when reading a book, they'll go straight to the end and sort of read the last page. They'll know exactly what sort of point the characters actually end up getting to, and then the rest is sort of figuring out how they got there. And apparently, I really wish I had a memory for the actual the academic journals and stuff. But I've seen several research papers, articles about research papers. Let's be real. Basically suggesting that people who do that actually get a lot more enjoyment out of the book than people who sort of go, oh, no spoilers, and they don't know what's about to
Yeah, I've
happen.
heard that because my friend watching Game of Thrones, it was season 3, and it was so emotionally draining. He's he read all the Wikipedia just to know what he was expecting so he could enjoy the show without having oh, who's gonna die, who's gonna die. I get that, yeah.
Yeah, just in terms of obviously, if you're looking for the suspense, you want to get the suspense, but just in terms of the raw, dopamine, is it dopamine levels?
Does it mean serotonin? I have no idea.
Science.
Dopamine's the one that sort of controls rewards, like that feeling of being rewarded by something.
We're here to talk about science fiction.
Yeah, we are.
The fiction part will come later.
We are here to talk about science fiction, but just
reading the spoilers actually releases the midichlorians, which allows you to really tap into the force.
No.
George
did
Lucas
the Force tell you
consulted.
that? Is that
No, George Lucas consulted on this little thing beforehand and said, guys gotta mention midichlorians, politics if you can.
Someone has to go, bugga in the background.
But yeah, I feel like that's kind of relevant to this whole discussion though, because just Star Wars being such a big thing that everybody at first was like, oh, no spoilers, and then everyone wants to spoil it.
So on that, they found that, and I'll get straight back to Star Wars because we're not here to talk about this, but people enjoy listening to music that's popular because it's popular and they know how the song's gonna go.
What the hell you're talking about? I don't listen to popular music. Who do you think I am?
They come into the room right over here.
Please.
So the reason you go to a club and the more successful DJs, they're either totally out there or they're totally mainstream. You'll hear lots of repeats of songs and you know exactly where it's gonna go. You know where the beat's gonna drop. You know everything about everything in the song, even though you haven't heard it. That makes you happy when you listen to the song. So maybe if you extrapolate that to a book, the midichlorians release will be more because you know what's coming and you enjoy reading how it's done.
I'm annoyed how that's become part of his
Yeah,
lingo.
well.
Just like that. We're just skating over it.
All right, cool. The happiness chemical is called
The midichlorians
now. Okay, let's run with that. So everyone's seen it now. Given all the build-up that we had, and sort of the comparison to the other movies, this big new thing in a familiar universe. How did you guys find it?
I thought it was movie magic, to be honest. Really, it's been built up to me for a whole lot of time. I really, really, really enjoyed it. I was grinning like a kid from beginning to end, except for that really horrible scene where Kylo kills Han. I mean, yeah, you kind of call it, but when the actual event happens, the
There's
first
still
time
a part of you going, maybe not.
yeah, maybe not. There's
we'll-
like one Han's like he's gonna die, and the other Han's like, come on, they can't kill Han, and they fucking kill Han.
Well, Harrison Ford wanted to get killed in
Yeah.
Return of the Jedi, so I think this was his out. It was a fitting movie for him too.
Yeah.
You saw his
Yeah,
character
yeah.
growth, and it was really nice.
Well, I also think I remember hoping that they would do this from the start without even knowing that Harrison Ford wanted out. Not because I don't like Han Solo, but because like that thing of they've got sort of the original set of characters, and they're bringing them all back because they can't not have them in the movie, which is a thing that kind of bugs me, to be honest. But whatever, let's roll with it. And it has that thing of like, okay, yeah, we can sort of bring the old characters back and sort of ground it in that world, but then we're not protecting them.
Yeah,
Like,
it's great. It's not like a
yeah.
fan film. They want to appease everyone. They're actually taking steps to telling a story.
Yeah,
That was
exactly.
really
I think
nice.
as character-wise, Han Solo kind of went. There's nowhere else you can really take the character, and so yeah.
Speaking of appeasing everyone, though, this is this is where I'm going to have a little bit of a rant about it. So many bad fanfic tropes.
Fuck you.
Honestly, no. Seriously.
considering
The
watching.
hero
Yes, it
worship
is.
of Darth Vader. The whole, Luke's disappeared and he's suddenly the MacGuffin. Like using the main character as a MacGuffin just
He's
because,
not
like,
the main goddamn character.
but he was the main
Rey is.
character of the original trilogy. Okay, like as in using the past main character as this, like.
Well, in the film, he's called a myth essentially.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
It's 30 years have passed. It
Yeah.
makes sense that
that
had
these
he
heroes
buggered
are
off-
mythologized in the sense
Yeah.
because
Yeah, but it's just I suppose part of it is that it creates that sense of like, okay, we expect the audience to mythologize this. And it's like, okay, great. A lot of the audience does, but that's not the point. Like, a sort of that thing of like I don't like being told how to feel.
So when you heard about Yoda, the grandest Jedi Master of all Grand Jedi Masters, and Obi-Wan shows up in the middle of the bloody ice fields and like, he's over here, go get the MacGuffin. Did you find that annoying?
Yoda was not a MacGuffin.
Wasn't he?
Yoda was established within the movie.
Barely.
Um,
And then they're told nothing about him other than
it's practically a throwaway line by Obi-Wan's like, Yoda's in Dagobah, go
Yeah.
get him.
yeah,
Fetch.
but it's that thing of like, okay, we've seen Luke, we know what he's like, and then like we're expected to sort of treat that like a myth, like this thing of like, oh, we want to see that again.
But it-
We've
And
No, but I guess
do we though?
Well, I mean, as the film explores into history, I guess Luke has always been established even in previous films as this person who goes out, does things and whatnot, and so far. But then he's somewhat emotionally blindsided by his own nephew killing a lot of the Jedi. Now, there's been obviously discussion as to whether Luke as a character would do that. I think it was a smart progression because he had done all these things, he had succeeded, and when he thought he succeeded, all of a sudden, his own family kind of turns to the dark side and
Well,
slaughters them.
can we do like speculations and stuff? Am I allowed to do that?
Speculation's fine.
Because
Okay.
you know the Knights of Ren. We are,
Yeah.
in the
Yeah, yeah.
flashback, they're sending him Kylo Ren. I think that it's his students behind him. Like, not all. Kylo Ren didn't kill them all. His students turned against him, and that would drive a man to want to escape
Yeah.
and save his life and go
Yeah.
into hiding. That could be a.
more than that. The lightsaber that Kylo builds, we see it's like super bloody unstable.
Oh, yeah, because
that
he's-
thing's running on diesel. That thing's aggressive.
Yeah.
and
so cool.
And his temper tantrums as well, stuff.
Yeah.
So we know that the Jedi build their own lightsabers, and it's like a big expected thing that when you turn like 14 or 15, you build your own and you start becoming an actual Padawan.
Yeah.
All of the other Knights of Ren that stand with him don't have lightsabers
yeah.
yet.
Oh.
And so they're all around like 13, 14 years old.
Wait, what, we actually see the other Knights of Ren?
There's
I
like-
just saw a bunch of stormtroopers.
No.
In the flashback.
Oh, in the flash.
In the
yeah,
rain,
they're
yeah.
standing in the
Yeah.
rain.
Yeah.
Well, I don't. They look a bit tall to be 14,
Just like his
15.
posse or what?
Oh, maybe not. Maybe
When
maybe
he
he's.
stabs him in the back, it's from a lower angle and it only comes to about shoulder length. So we know they're around the same. I was analyzing this shit out. This is bad. I was so engrossed until that guy. Can we talk about the guy in the theater?
We can talk about the guy in the theater. Yep.
We'll come back to it in a second.
Yeah.
But none of the other Knights of Ren have actual lightsabers. Like I noticed the guy that gets stabbed was holding a blunt force weapon. And we sort of know he's a Knight of Ren because who attacks the opposite direction from the person who's holding the lightsaber?
So you're saying Kylo killed a Knight of Ren?
Yes.
Huh.
To protect Rey, to get her out of the temple to Jakku so that she'd be out of the plot forever because they're related. Anyway.
Aha. What?
Okay, that's
Took a big leap there.
that's taking some leaps.
The cruiser that drops her off, it's the scene, the flashback immediately
yeah.
after.
Yeah.
It's a first world transport ship, like first order transport ship. It's the same design as the.
Really?
Yep.
So
No, I'm so impressed. Keep going. Come on.
So it's a throwaway thing, but it's definitely a first order transport ship. It's the same design we see that drops off the stormtroopers and stuff. And so there's sort of this implication that when when Ben, whatever, switches sides, he protects Rey for some reason. And the only reason Rey would be dropped off and not have like the whole Force thing examined with her is if she'd gotten tested already and was sent to the academy. The way Jedi training works in the expanded universe is when the kid's born, they test for midichlorians and then send them off to the temple.
A lot of that isn't relevant anymore though, because they did reset the expanded universe
Disney
a few
was
years
like,
ago.
Yeah.
no.
And while they've kept a lot of elements from the original EU, like you can't assume that
Yeah.
it's still in place until they show us that it's still in place.
But the implication behind all of the Jedi kids, and they are kids, like they're not adults, being able to use the Force is that they were picked up much younger.
yeah.
And so it's like, you're 2 years old. How do we know that you can lift a starfighter out of a swamp for Yoda? You haven't carried him on your back for like 3 minutes. So yeah.
Back on the
That insane theory.
back on what?
That insane theory that.
It's not insane.
Well, Kylo knows Rey. I mean, then the rest of that third act of the film, Kylo doesn't really give a shit about Rey.
Kylo doesn't give a shit about the girl from Jakku until she uses the Force, at which point he freaks the fuck out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you buy the theory that
the whole "you need a teacher" thing?
Yeah. Then he's like,
Yeah,
oh,
like,
yeah.
he's keen
scared.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But do you buy the fact that Luke trained her, or she was trained, and then someone used the Force to block out those memories? Because that's going around at the moment that
Potentially.
she's like Luke's daughter, and he trained her, but then when everything went to hell, he used the Force to block her memory so
I
they
would
wouldn't
think Kylo
track her
would
down or
use the
anything.
Force. Kylo spends the entire movie going, "Look, I'm a bad guy."
Yeah. He's
Please,
kind of really sort of.
He
doing
really
the,
wants to be
He's really
that
doing the
bad guy.
rebellious teenager thing.
Yeah, he wants to be his grandfather. And
Yeah.
I love Kylo and his character. He
Yeah.
got backlash because he was whiny, kind of like Luke in the first movie. He
Or
wants
like
to go to
Anakin in
Costa
the
Station to pick up power converters. He whiny. But I love that because he's not a villain yet. He's a guy who's battling with his inner demons, and I think we'll see him come to his own in episode 8.
See, this was another thing that really bugged me though. The whole thing of like you put together the fact that Kylo really wants to be Darth Vader, the fact that Luke has suddenly become this myth, and Han and Leia are these big myths in their in their own different ways, and it's just like, well, okay, yeah, we get that this is kind of an important story in the Star Wars universe. But it's that thing of they're kind of sort of playing that really, really hard, and that to the point where you've got entire scenes, especially near the end of the movie with the map and everything, where pretty much the only reason that these characters are in the plot is because they couldn't not be, and it's just that thing of like, some integrity, please.
I feel like we needed to see Rey. We needed to see Rey and the other characters succeed without him. Because
I agree with that.
Don't hold my hand, please. It makes sense that we'd get to see the characters succeed and like blow up something bigger than the Death Star. The coolest thing in that movie.
Blow up something bigger. Well, that's a whole nother thing. It's
Are you going towards like it's New Hope again?
The whole story was basically just apart from a lot of the character stuff, was basically just a whole lot of rehashed plot beats from Episode 4 and a few from Episodes 5 and 6. It's like the whole movie was sort of just screaming, "Hey, look, guys! I'm Star Wars, and I'm not the prequel Star Wars. Am I Star Wars enough yet? Please love me."
Well, evidently they do now. It's like $1.96 billion or whatnot.
Yeah,
But I think the thing is you need that because it's such a part of cinema, and if you go in and you give all this new mumbo jumbo and you don't see the characters we love and their continued stories in a universe we know they exist in, it's kind of a letdown for the people who grew up with these Star Wars movies.
Well, see, I mean, it's all good and well to have to sort of have the characters that we all knew and loved in there, but not like thrown in our faces. Like it's like, okay, yeah, lots of people love these characters, but like, you know, I like these characters, but that still doesn't mean that I like having them shoved in my face for the sake of me loving them.
I gotta admit, I disagree with you, but I love the way you're making your point. It makes sense because the first line is Luke Skywalker is missing, and I gasped. I was so in the moment. I was like, "This is amazing! He's part of the film straight away."
See, that instantly put me in defense mode.
Yeah,
I was just like, okay, it's like, why is that the most important thing for me to know straight away? Like, just because it's that thing of like, okay, like you're trying too hard to be Star Wars.
You think I know what they're doing? It was the prequels had these like texts of just trade federation, trade negotiations, and we're getting into the adventure straight away.
Yeah.
Well, I like the fact that they're getting into the adventure straight away, which was, you know, admittedly, well, actually no, Episode 1 did get into the adventure straight away. Let's be real.
It had the term trade negotiations in it, though.
It really took a while for things to
but it
kick
also
off.
started with an action sequence,
mission.
basically.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, right?
That's true.
That side of things it did very well. And it turned into a kids movie where it's like, okay, you know, let's make it so that the kid is the one who saves the day via really like what the heck is happening here?
Yeah. Now this is pod race.
Yeah, but
don't we see the exact same thing where someone who has shown no skill in a certain area suddenly goes, Force.
it's a pattern. Yeah.
No, I think there's more.
It's more to it.
We've grown up having the whole trilogy at our disposal. This one we have to wait. So I think there might be more to come in this whole like Rey can suddenly use the Force.
But I actually liked the political stuff in episodes 1, 2, and 3 mainly because like, okay, episodes 4, 5, and 6, it makes sense that you don't have that much world building because the main characters don't actually have that much contact with the outside world out of their little spheres of like, you know, their conflicts with you know, their direct confrontations with the Empire and you know, and with, you know, Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah.
That was fun. No, I did really like that sequence.
Because I did. Oh, sorry.
But episodes 1, 2, and 3, like the world hasn't been
Fleshed out.
well, it hasn't been blown to shit yet.
A political superpower hasn't taken
like,
over. So
you basically have globalization on a galactic scale. So of course there's going to be politics.
It's just targeted as a kids movie. You want.
Yeah,
you know, you need to have that balance. Tonally, they were off.
Like a lot of the execution was bad, but I think to respond to that by going, oh, people didn't like the politics in these movies, therefore let's not do politics at all and go, run away from the politics. Episode 7, we don't get any of
There's
it.
a fair mention of it. There's a mention of senates and whatnot, and then
there's a vague mention of it, and then it's just like, well, hang on a second.
Ironically, they blow it up.
The Republic just got blown up.
Yeah.
Why do I care about the Republic?
Because they've gone back to that whole it's a space opera. It's about the characters.
Well, no, but that's the thing. Like they've actually sort of taken it out of space opera land at the, like for episode 7, because like space opera, like my experiences of space opera, yeah, you have sort of the one sort of core group of characters who are sort of having most of the influence, but like if you look at say like the Saga of Seven Sons or something, going into where like basically the whole idea of that is you've got all these different characters who end up sort of running into each other and influencing the directions that each other go in, but they all come from completely different places and they barely like they affect each other and cross paths, but their stories are almost completely independent. And like, you know, so some of them are heavily involved in political spheres, some of them are, you know, completely sort of cut off from the rest of the world and being affected in other ways. But it's that thing of like, well, you know, sort of really intense world building stuff, I suppose. And it's like, a sort of that thing of, I feel like they're, okay, I like stuff that's layered. And I like the fact that, you know, the prequel trilogy and sort of episodes 4, 5, and 6, you've got the political affecting the, affecting the community, affecting the personal, and it all sort of integrates. Whereas episode 7, we don't have that.
We do.
Episode 7, you just have duality and nothing else.
There's no sort of this. Episode 7 isn't about Empire versus Republic. They quickly say, you know, the Republic's not going to play along with this bullshit. They're like, hey, the Republic basically says, look, we don't want to keep funding your ships for this fight against a foe that, we could probably negotiate with. And so the whole resistance, the entire reason the last battle is a battle of, life or death is because the resistance has no reinforcements. It's like, we have, what,
They're
24
X-Wings? Even, and it's day less by the time they finish. And,
like
down, it's like down right to the wire kind of thing.
And so they have no resources to continue the fight. Even if they evacuate, there's like, this is it.
Okay, that's all good and well, but I'm honest.
Don't you say they could have captured Starkiller, because that thing was a fucking plan.
No. I am honestly really annoyed by what that was all there to set up. And what that was all there to set up is basically just another, okay, the Empire is in power again, and it's the rebellion against the Empire.
The Empire's been hobbled, and so is the Republic.
No.
This is setting up is a power
but what you've got,
vacuum
what you've got in the original trilogy is a small guerrilla,
Kind of force.
a small guerrilla force against like this, sort of massive superpower, basically. In the prequel trilogy, you've sort of got that reversed. Like it's a different superpower against a different
Superpower, yeah, because they're clones and...
it becomes a superpower.
No, from the very beginning, these ships, like, you have 3 donor ships, and they hold a world hostage.
Yeah. Well, as in, like, because the Republic is a superpower, but it's one that's crumbling, and it crumbles over the course of the prequel trilogy to make way for the Empire. But it's still one group in charge, one group resisting, right? Whereas what they had the opportunity to do with the whole First Order versus Resistance thing, with both sides, with the Republic trying to build up again and the Empire being crippled, is they could have actually had fairly equal sides. And straight away they take that out and just make it, it's going to be the same as Episode 4, 5, 6 again. Great.
Well, I reckon...
How many fucking Naboo starfighters went up against Donut Ship?
I don't know. I haven't seen Episode 1 for
the
years.
voices in my head.
Okay, great.
That's an oddly specific question that goes to no one in particular. Find out more later. This idea of, if you watch the extras on the DVD, and I almost feel bad for having done so, but George Lucas refers to a lot of his work like poetry. It's a repeating stanza. It's rhyming.
But
so
if you look at his recent interviews, he was actually really annoyed about Episode 7, specifically because Episode 7 tries to recreate the original trilogy. What he tried to do with every one of his movies was do something different every time.
Did he though?
Not necessarily in terms of the plot beats, because they're all just sort of hero's journey over and over.
But in the sense that A New Hope, you've basically just got the hero's journey played straight almost. And in the prequel,
5, you've basically got a Western. And then Episode 6, you've got, I don't know what Episode 6 is, but it's something different again. Episode 1 is a kid's movie. Episode 2 is the romance.
Really
Episode 3, I don't know what to call that. But and yeah, I mean, some of those genres are very badly done, but at least they tried to do something new. Whereas Episode 7 is trying really, really hard to do all the old stuff.
Well, going back to what Jack was saying, he has said a lot of times he wanted them to rhyme, but that's made him go back and change Blu-ray special editions and inject stuff into the movies. It's not a great thing.
Yeah, he gets through like the second verse and goes, shit, this doesn't rhyme.
Yeah, now I can go
fix the first one.
Yeah, exactly.
And in a way, I get some of the backlash against the original prequels. But okay, fun little exercise here. Out of 10, rate the movies in order. Let's go like Episode 1, 1, 2, okay?
Wait, what? I don't
I just want to find out what people thought of the movies in a numerical thing.
Okay, yeah.
So, Episode 1, what did you think?
Episode 1 rate's pretty low comparatively, but mainly because I'm not the target audience.
Just number.
See,
number.
See,
killing him, dude.
I actually don't want to buy into this, specifically because like I'm sort of taking it like I don't think a numeric metric actually works for this kind of thing.
It's true, because I rewatched the prequels before. I rewatched the whole saga, but the prequels, and for the first time ever, I was so surprised. I paid attention to the dialogue, and Palpatine's rise is so intriguing to me. I was like, this is great. He's working everything, and he's the puppet master behind the scenes, and I really actually enjoyed that side of it.
I think there's not so much.
Hey,
What have I done?
We had this argument before on like
No.
Palpatine's rise to power and how like I think it's the best thing in the movies.
I loved
Yeah,
it.
I don't,
But see, I don't remember refuting you on that. I remember,
Your words were, "There's so much great stuff there, they just missed it."
No. Okay. Palpatine's rise to power is great. What they missed was that what they could have done was had the Jedi be just as bad as the Sith in like sort of a horseshoe effect. Like,
What do you mean bad in terms of?
in terms of like, okay, you've got one side of you've got one philosophy, you've got an opposed philosophy, and then you've got both of them sort of actually being pretty extreme.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Whereas the whole prophecy about Anakin is about restoring balance, right? It's not that's not just light side, dark side. That's a thing of like there should
Getting
be
them on an equal
there should
footing.
be.
yeah.
Yeah.
And what they could so easily have done, right, was have the Jedi are already taking little kids and sort of indoctrinating them into this. Oh, you can't be angry, you can't have these emotions, our way or nothing.
Yeah. You just blew
You
my
wanted
mind.
to-
You just blew my mind. Yeah.
And you've got Palpatine who's like, oh, I don't know whether he's just being manipulative or whether he actually believes that him taking over will lead to peace. It's not really clear. Doesn't really matter for the sake of the argument.
Yeah.
And then if you've got the Jedi being extremists, basically what you've got Yoda and Mace Windu. Mace Windu being sort of almost the villain of the piece, hence why he has to die in Episode 3. And then Yoda almost gets sort of the reverse arc to what Darth Vader gets, in the sense of like, he sort of makes a series of really bad decisions, ends up becoming a Sith, and almost being in charge of the Empire, redeems at the end of Episode 6. Well, you've also got Yoda going losing everything that was important to him, and then possibly coming around and going, oh yeah, hang on, the Jedi Order was actually kind of messed up. So, I'm not going to go that far, but I'll concede this.
Yeah, because they interpret the prophecy as saying balance means Jedi on top.
Yeah,
good,
exactly.
Force win. But
And
balance
of course they would,
means an
because they
equilibrium.
believe so fervently in
they're
what they
right.
believe.
Yeah.
And so, of course, Anakin coming in a little bit older,
Throws them
he's
off.
he's able to see through that a little bit.
We're gonna get so much hate. My God.
He doesn't see through it. He doesn't.
No,
look
but
through it.
yeah, exactly. That's not what we see. That's not what we get on screen.
Because
But it's what we should have got.
Anakin's
No,
rise.
Palpatine's rise is amazing. Anakin.
I'm not talking about. Palpatine is not Anakin.
No, I know.
Anakin's
no, but-
rise
the
is
last
one
time
of
I checked, it
jealousy
wasn't it?
and trying to gain more power because from his birth he's been a slave.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
he's got
I know.
a thing in his head that goes kablooey if he leaves the property. And so every time someone tells him no, he thinks back to, can I go out tonight? No, I'm going to blow up
And
your
he's been
face."
promised freedom, and then when he gets there, it's the same. He's
Yeah,
just in a
pretty much
different
like,
way.
do this, do that. You
Yeah,
have
and
to do
then,
this.
and then that happens again for the original trilogy, because it's like, well, Sithhood is freedom, right? No, it turns out I'm just a slave to all this stuff.
And now I'm
Great.
like a
And
half
he's-
cyborg.
Yeah.
And when something
character.
better comes along, he's easily disposable.
Yeah.
Yeah,
when Luke
yeah.
is tempted, just get Darth Vader out of there. We don't need him anymore.
Yeah, so really he's a slave all the way through.
Until like that moment, episode 6 was like, I'm done with this shit, and just like,
True freedom is when he dies, though. I'd like
Yeah.
to make
Yeah,
that
yeah.
clear.
But the thing, the thing that doesn't work is that Anakin is supposed to be the protagonist of episodes 1, 2, and 3, but he has no agency.
I don't think there's a protagonist in the prequels. It's characters interacting, and then
there seems to be
no
glimpses
one
of
sen-
Well, in
good
that case,
ideas.
in that case, you kind of have multiple
but never-
protagonists because like any story has to be fueled by the decisions that the characters are making, right? And Anakin sort of like he just reacts, really.
But that's him. Like, his entire life is reacting, again, because he was a slave. He's like...
Yeah. But see, that just makes for a weak story, right? Because
a
you're not
character
because you're not
must
because you're not
make
actually having him
decisions and-
make
well-
decisions about like what he should be doing or what he wants to do. He's
Because
just
the story isn't
doing-
about Anakin. It's Palpatine, and it's Obi-Wan, and it's Yoda. I would say that Obi-Wan is probably
He probably
the actual-
should be, if he should have had probably more of the focus, if not the most focus, and he should have been the primary protagonist in the beginning.
Obi-Wan is probably the most decisive character in the whole.
Prequel.
Because
Yeah.
his entire life he's been free. He's never had to actually deal with being manipulated. He's always said, "This is what I believe in. This is what I've been asked to do. Here's how I'm going to go about it."
Yeah,
And
well, see, that's exactly like the value of a protagonist. Usually, like it's like, okay, they have these values that conflicts with this situation. How am I going to resolve this conflict?
And that's what the prequels are. Palpatine has these values, dark side and lightsabers being hidden under cloaks and all, and that's how he deals with coming to power. Obi-Wan has these values, and this assassin thingy got shot in the neck with a dart. Here's how he's going to deal with that problem. I don't think Anakin's the protagonist.
Well, see, basically, but I feel like basically what we're agreeing on here is that Anakin should not have had the focus in.
Yeah,
any
yeah,
of those
that's
movies.
definitely true.
I don't know if he did.
Well, the
think
only reason
probably-
he had focus is because he's Darth Vader. Apart from
yeah.
that, he's not an engaging character.
I think probably what would have been valued more is you introduce him bits in episodes 1, episode 2, you kind of build it up, but you don't focus it. Then in episode 3, which I think they got for the most part, is that you do then start to kind of have this parallel story, which again they did reasonably well, but the other episodes 1 and 2 could have been built up a lot more to give it off that payoff in episode 3.
Yeah, well, I think I think though, like what I was saying before about like the Jedi, sort of needing to be a bit more sort of extremists, like not necessarily the bad guys, but clearly like, they're doing a lot of things that are not good.
They
As
kind of
opposed to
are.
just sort of being screwed over by the fact that the Senate is crumbling and.
At no point do they actually go to the Senate for permission on stuff. Like a senator.
But they're
gets-
pretty
No,
much-
no, but the
senator has an
the decisions they make don't fall apart because they're their decisions. They fall apart because they're being manipulated.
That's fine. But literally the entire thing behind their fall is, we know something's wrong here. Something's really bad. There's a Sith who's manipulating the Senate, and we know this. We've been explicitly told, BT dubs, there's a Sith in the Senate.
But they
And we're
haven't
not
done
doing
it.
shit
Yeah.
all about it. Fuck it, we'll find it out later. There's like something going on this water planet, and there was a dart, and like whatever.
Damn logic, man.
I mean, it was their decision.
That's kind of poor storytelling, really.
Yeah.
I know.
I
It's
think-
the Jedi Order. They're a stagnant organization. They've lived for like thousands of generations or thousands of years,
I
whichever
think-
you believe.
I think the
But
problem is that we didn't see that in strong enough a way, really. We didn't see like sort of a decisive moment where where somebody sort of goes, hang on a tick, okay, I have to decide between, working for the Jedi or actually like. Well, no, you do have Anakin like
The
a lot of
Jedi
like
react.
whining a lot about how he's being held back.
And then he
But-
turns on a dime, pretty much.
Yeah, but in the sense of like, okay, there's this moral quandary here where like there's this there's this good that I could be doing, and then there's this
This kind of selfish need, almost in a way.
no like it sort of frames it as like, oh, the good thing, like the light side thing to do is to step back, and doing things leads to the dark side, like. That's just some really poor duality there.
It's basically just inaction leads to the dark side, and
Well,
inaction leads to the good side.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
what?
Well, what I liked about episode 7, just bringing it
Yeah,
back
yeah.
to, we got
finally.
Kylo Ren who wants to be bad. Well, no, he wants to be with the dark side, but
he's
he's feeling the
seduced,
pull towards
yeah.
the good because of his family heritage and everything.
Yeah, that was an interesting twist, I
Yeah.
think, because the suggestion's always been that there is no pull to the light side.
Yeah.
There's this pull to this thing in the middle where, like,
Well, there's always been a pull to the dark side because you can.
Because
you
it's
can,
the dark side.
You can go into your
Yeah.
fantasies. You can actually.
because it's the dark
put wheel on- Yeah, exactly. It's
because
something
it's
that not
the easy
everyone.
path.
Yeah.
Exactly, and then to be the light, you have to be good and follow it and do everything
And-
they
Yeah,
tell you to. But then
and
Luke
do
is
the
the
hard
exception.
things, and-
He
yeah.
was the sole Jedi who saved his friends, didn't have anyone to listen to him, and he
He was
grew up
Yeah.
to be a myth. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas with Kylo, he's definitely a lot more of a three-dimensional character because you can see, especially in that exchange with Han, because he's really torn up.
Yeah.
And his soul is being torn apart as well, which, again, kudos to Adam Driver for a
I
fantastic
love
performance.
the casting of Adam
Yeah.
Driver.
Yeah.
in this
I
movie.
kind of love that moment just for the fact of like, it's that thing of, okay, I don't want to have to do this, but I do have to do this in order to achieve this other goal. And it's not even necessarily a matter of like casting his emotions aside or anything. It's that thing of like, okay, I have conflicting goals here.
It's like if you want to
and
get
I have
into,
to choose one of them.
If you want to get into a gang and you have to rob a store or something, it's not something you want to do, but you want to earn the respect, and he wants to earn Snoke's respect.
What? The implication.
You ever been in a gang?
you in?
It's the small time crime stealing stuff from people gang.
This is going into speculation territory a little bit, but there's a strong implication that like that Snoke is basically telling him like, okay, for me to complete your training, you have to kill someone you love or something you love, and like and he's sort of keyed in on the fact that okay, you still love your parents, kill them.
You have to show the chutzpah to get
I
in.
like that he doesn't actually say kill your daddy though.
No, he just
never
he
does.
very strongly insinuates it.
But that also lets him go like, how will he follow these instructions? How will he be a disciple?
He gives him
of mine?
leeway into what, and then you see that in that split second after Han's like it's a bit of sadness and regret.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
when he just like
And then there's just like
when he falls
the
gets
fall,
the face.
the fall really bugged me.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
I
No,
thought
because
I
they
thought this would
ripped that
come up.
image. They ripped like obviously it played like it was
Which
a
image?
different shot, but they ripped the idea straight from episode 1 and episode 6. They're just doing the same. It's that thing of we're trying to cement ourselves in the Star Wars world by doing the exact same death over again.
Well,
It's
arguably
like-
they've done it better, and they've made the craft better, and they've filmed it, and they've presented it, and with a lot
There's
more emotional
emotions in that
stakes,
scene.
Yeah.
I
when-
feel like they could pick different images to get those emotions across.
Well, when Darth Maul dies, no one gives a damn.
yeah.
You don't know who this guy is. He
Yeah,
just
yeah.
looks cool.
Yeah,
in
yeah.
this one, you get reaction shot from Han, from Kylo, and Chewie.
Oh, when
It's
Chewie-
emotionally
Yeah.
punched right
But
into
the-
it.
seconds.
But the fall into the circular chasm thing is not necessary. Everything else is amazing, and then there's the fall into the chasm,
No,
which is just the
'cause-
same
Well, I
thing
think
we've seen
it's-
a dozen
we're
times,
watching
and we don't need it.
We're watching Star Wars, and it's something that's ingrained in society. I watched it when I was a kid. Dad showed it to me, and I think we need these little bits just to say, look, we're in this universe. You all love this
It's
universe.
like
there's new things there. There's old
I
things
don't
there.
That's
think
exactly
it's a
what I have a
fan
problem
service thing.
with.
It's not a fan service thing. It's not a
It
callback
is
to
a
previous
fan
stuff.
service thing.
Every time a character falls down a chasm, how do we find out if they're alive or dead?
Well-
Because falling down that chasm is the deletion of that character. We only see him in Clone Wars, Darth Maul.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
referring to.
Why is the deletion necessary?
Because
Just a
otherwise
sense
the
of
body
finality.
could be retrieved.
Yeah.
Yeah, the body could be retrieved and then like
It's
burned
Star
on fire
Wars.
or
They
something.
literally have a tank where they chuck you in it. They
Also,
put a
the
gas
planet
mask-
gets blown up. They wouldn't.
It's a Star Killer base. It blows up a sun.
Well, it becomes a
a
sun.
sun, yeah.
Becomes a
Yeah.
sun, which is cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
But the idea of him falling down the chasm is because this is this character's ending. There is
Why
no
did it need
more
to be the same damn chasm?
Not the same
It's-
damn.
Well, it
chasm.
was. It
It's
was
on
the
the
same
planet.
design. It was the same design.
because
What
it
I
was
think
like
it is, it's
glowing
announcing that there is a new era. And
But it's not announcing that there's a new era.
Yeah, I
it's
think
announcing we're
it's-
stuck in the old ways.
No, I think
that's
that we
what
need
they
to be.
wanted to do. I think JJ was very clear. Back to practical effects, back to always. And look, I love JJ Abrams. I think he made a great film, but he is also very much a fanboy.
He's a good director, but he's not a adventurous director.
Yeah.
He goes into his safe ways. And
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
I think we
That's-
need that.
I-
though.
Yeah,
For
and I-
Star Wars, I think we need that because
you-
if we step too far off the cliff, people will start freaking out because Star Wars fans really care about
And
these
that's
movies.
why
and they
you
want to
need-
see things.
And that's why you need in this new trilogy a first step of familiarity. That's why
We-
JJ was.
we
such
can
a-
expand in
Well,
episode
well,
8 and 9 and
well,
10, 11, 12.
yeah.
but
Well,
we-
see, as long as they take some massive steps outside of that for episodes 8 and 9, I'll be okay with it.
yeah, and
in
that's the
retrospect.
thing about.
It's just that thing of like, okay, they've done this for episode 7, people love it, and I can't help but feel like what the studio's going to say is they want more of the same.
Well, I mean, they've got Ryan Johnson directing next, and his films Looper and Brick, they're completely different, fairly esque original, and I'm thinking you will see a much darker episode 8. In fact, John Boyega has already come out and said this is going to be quite dark for episode 8, which
Yeah.
will be interesting to
but
definitely see.
that also helps Mike's point because episode
Episode
5
5 was
the
dark. That's
darker one
definitely
of the
very true.
trilogy.
It's
No, no,
the
no,
second
the-
act.
like-
Name a second act that's all daisies and daffodils.
Sort of. It's actually the first half of basically when it comes to a trilogy, and like I remember what like on the special editions they had these like little featurettes beforehand where George Lucas was very specific about this. The first act of a trilogy, that's a standalone. it has to work on its own.
Yep.
And basically, all you're doing is setting up the world, setting up the characters, and sort of just like basically making them familiar. The second one, the middle one, is basically the first half of a bigger movie, rather than the middle of. It's basically okay. You're sort of starting a new story, and then you sort of end on sort of the cliffhanger where, like, not necessarily a cliffhanger, but in a situation where things are as bad as they can possibly get for the characters. And then, of course, the third act, you sort of
Those conclusions and whatnot.
So are
yeah.
you saying that episode 7 can stand alone, or do you feel it's more part of a trilogy?
I feel like they played it as part of a trilogy. Like there's a whole lot of loose ends
And that's what I think
that sort of make it not a standalone.
is
And I'm
different.
actually a little bit annoyed by that.
I think it's smart because A New Hope or Star Wars was
Can
made
stand on
without
its own.
knowing there'd be more to come. It was gonna be a
Yeah.
failure
That-
until
Yeah.
it wasn't. This one we know there's gonna be more movies to come.
Yeah.
So people are gonna go see them. It's
Yeah.
Star Wars. So I
Um,
think they're firm in their belief that people will go see Star Wars movies. So they can tease you out and make a bigger story that when we look back on it in a few years when it's all done, it'll be hopefully a great overarching story.
I feel like that's no excuse for having a first movie of a trilogy that doesn't have a satisfying ending in and of itself.
That was
Well, in a way,
satisfying
it does.
as
It has
shit.
a very satisfying ending.
It was
She
a
meets her
trailer for the
dad.
next movie.
What?
She meets her dad
was
and
a
she holds
trailer
out
for
the
the next
lightsaber
movie.
and he's like,
The
oh my god,
the
you're alive,
flashbacks-
I love my daughter.
The flashbacks,
This is a
that
lot of
entire
speculation.
sequence at the end where R2-D2 suddenly wakes up for absolutely
no,
no
stop,
reason.
Oh God, stop. So we see in the flashback,
That
because
Luke-
we still got more to come. Luke puts his hand on R2-D2. There's
Yeah.
more to come. We know this is the first part of a trilogy.
Yeah.
We can't rule out that R2-D2 just woke up. I think we need to wait until episode 8 and 9 to see why he woke up at that certain point.
Okay, I'm gonna.
Though, in the canon,
Yeah.
there is the idea that he's been searching his memories for where Luke went. He knows that Luke's told him, by BT dubs, I'm going to the first Jedi temple. And so R2-D2 goes into low power mode because he's essentially just surfing the web looking for like...
So
yeah,
that seems very
porn,
convenient. Because
porn.
Rey lands on the planet just as R2 wakes up. There's
Just after Rey.
yeah, just after. There's a connect there. I think that's too convenient. But I think
little
if
bit.
Rey and R2-D2 are connected in some sort of
Pretty
way.
much
I think to actually make that to make that wake up satisfying, she would need to actually like see R2 and like touch him and then have that happen. That would actually make sense.
Yeah, that would too. Yeah.
Whereas to me, it just felt like an arse pull, to be honest. Like I was just like, okay, this is the point in the story where we need to find Luke.
To be honest, it was
Look
a
at
fast
this.
wrap up. It was
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
she lands and then she's at Luke 10 seconds
Actually,
later.
About that, this entire movie was fast.
Yeah,
that
this
was like
very
Yeah, it was
fast.
extremely
it
fast
clips along
paced.
at
I
a very
liked that.
Yeah, it didn't.
liked that
It didn't
about it.
meander.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
we want to show you as much as we can. Yeah, it was great. I left that.
There
part.
was no moment in which, like, even the non-actiony sequences were like, hey, this is exposition in, like, the most blatant form. We're shoving it down your throat. Love it.
Yeah, I
How
love
cool
it.
is all this
because it's
exposition?
Star Wars. and we're like, yes, tell me more.
Tell me more. And then there's, like, all these little scenes where it's like, they could have flown away in the Millennium Falcon, and it's like,
Oh no! The way they found it at the start, like
Please
just
say.
that lineup of tropes at the literally Star Wars tropes at the start. That thing of like
can't criticize a Star Wars movie of having
literally,
Star Wars
the
tropes.
entire first quarter of the movie was just stopping at the stations all the way along. It was that thing of okay, like what we're seeing is another droid with another important piece of information where he has to go
That's
happen
how
to find
Star
the hero.
Wars works. The Force isn't just
Not with the same plot beats again.
the Force isn't just open power. It's not like I can choke you, I can push you, I can pull you. It's a very
surrounds us.
subconscious thing.
Buy me dinner
of,
first.
That
I need
no,
this.
that is an excuse to pull the same plot beats
It's
over
a
and
mechanic
over again.
they
Look,
set up.
I think from the get-go, the Force is the screenwriter's get out of jail card at
Yeah,
any
exactly.
point in time.
It is a get out of jail card.
It's not, now, to be fair, yes, they do cite the plot beats. I don't really have an issue with that. I know that it has to be familiar.
I'm a fan. I grew up wanting to be Luke Skywalker. I grew up wanting to be Han Solo, and then seeing them as myths and seeing the same things happen. I wasn't put down. I was in my seat, like tearing up, going, "This is
Yeah.
beautiful. It's Star Wars again." I didn't get that with the prequels.
Yeah. You got the first.
But then I go into this one, I'm like, I felt Star Wars again.
Yeah, and there's all these little throwaway like and you're going to call them fan service, and I kind of agree because I felt well and truly serviced. Just like the couple that was sitting in front of us in the theater, they serviced each other quite a bit.
Oh my god.
See, I was oblivious to that. I did not notice them at all.
I looked down for an instant.
Was this
I
your second time seeing it?
This was my second time. seeing it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy it better the second time?
I did like it a lot better the second time, mainly because I knew what I was going into. Like
Okay.
I wasn't hoping for something new, and that allowed me to actually sort of notice the character stuff a lot more.
Okay. So when you saw it the first time, did you have large expectations, like most of the world, or were you like,
No,
untempered
actually,
them?
I expected to be more disappointed, honestly.
Okay.
In the sense that I knew going in that I was going to have fun.
Yep.
I knew that there was going to be things that I hated about it, and I didn't know whether there was going to be things that I liked about it. All of those things turned out to be yes.
I went into this movie having seen the poster. And I was like, and with the spoilers as well, but I went into it seeing the poster and going, holy shit, this is like everything I ever wanted.
No trailers?
I saw the trailers when they came out, and in a way they did affect my expectation.
Sure.
The one that really got me, the one that really changed my view of the movie was the part where the Millennium Falcon's flying along in Jakku.
Was that the second teaser? Or was it like the
It
those
goes over
shots
the
in the
hill
first
and
trailer where it goes
yeah,
down and dips?
yeah.
Okay.
And that really affected my view of it, because
Yeah.
in Star Wars, I never thought of the ships as being agile or maneuverable, and
I think it's just more to do with JJ's work
Yeah.
as a
Yeah.
camera, which I think it's Star Wars in a way, but it's also modernized, and it's definitely honed it in from Star Trek. Although to be fair, when he did direct Star Trek, he was definitely Star Warsifying it to a degree. So
Yeah, so much.
100%.
yeah, so
I
he's
just watched that last night actually, and I
Yeah.
was like, this is very Star
this
Wars.
is very Star Wars. So clearly he's more of a Star Wars fan, and I think he's just been like a kid at Christmas with all this. You've even heard things like he's somewhat regretting not directing Episode 8. Having said that, I think Ryan will bring an interesting vibe to the whole.
just quickly, have the voices in my head decided how many Naboo starfighters attacked the donut?
Search within yourself.
Wow.
You know it to be true.
I'm searching.
Wow.
Still searching within yourself.
It's the
Getting
weirdest
nothing.
robot I've ever
Okay,
seen.
maybe we should get the answer to that next week, because we've actually run out of time.
Have we though?
I've
We're
been
going to come to
getting
blows really soon, and I'm
I've been
scared of
getting
that.
I've been getting the
really
wrap
wanna
up
fight
signal
you
for
and
about
your
5
fear
minutes.
of holes.
I've been getting the wrap up signal for about 5 minutes now, so I'm going to call it. This has been provisionally approved. Thanks for watching or listening in, depending on what medium you're experiencing this through. I've been Mike Gorrie.
I've been Zim.
I've been Jeremy.
I've been Jack Worthington.
And see you next week.
Except for Mike, you won't see him again. He's fired.
Hey, if you like what you just saw, check out our links here, and subscribe to our stuff.
They do need to eat.
Yeah, these guys will starve otherwise. I feel kind of sorry for them.
You've been living in the basement for about a couple of months.
It's like 20 cents a day.
Help them out.